We are at the Center for U.S. War Veterans Oral Histories at the National Guard Militia Museum of New Jersey in Seagirt, a partner of the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project. Today is April 20th, 2018. I am Carol Fowler, Director of the Center. My honored veteran is George F. McNicol, who served with the United States Navy in World War II in the Pacific Theater of Operations. He served aboard the USS Clarence K. Bronson from September of 1942 until October of 1945 and was a fireman, third class, engine room, boiler repair as well. Thank you for wanting to be here today, George. Your eyewitness account is considered a primary historical source and a valuable contribution to the Veteran History Project. And good morning and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you to your friend Ron for bringing you here today.
Wonderful guy.
Yes, very much so. All right, take us back to life prior to service. You didn't go in until you were 24 years old. Had you been doing window dressing design for Hoffman Beverage in Newark? Were you doing that before the Navy?
Right.
Okay. Do you remember the attack on Pearl Harbor?
No, I wasn't there.
No, but do you remember hearing the news of the attack?
Yes, we did.
Do you remember the Japanese attacking Pearl Harbor and being home and hearing about that?
Yeah.
Okay. How did that change life for you and your family in Irvington?
How does it change it?
Right. Did everything change like overnight? President Roosevelt declared war, and then there was rationing. So did life change? What was your family life like in Irvington?
Well, I was married and I lived very near to where they built the ship in Harrison. They built the ship in Kearney next door. But I was working as a window trimmer and the war broke out. I went in the Otis elevator in Harrison because I lived in Harrison at the time.
Right.
And from there, I went to New York and enlisted into the Navy and wound up at where was that?
Great Lakes, Illinois?
Great Lakes.
The
Great
training
Lakes.
was in
Great
Illinois.
Lakes Naval Station, that's it. And put my boots in there. After boots, I was sent to New York and I was waited and assigned to a ship called the Denebola, D-N-E-B-O-L-A, which was in New York for repairs. And then I went aboard and we took her back up to Portland. It was a base ship for destroyers. They could come in from being out at sea and they would take on supplies and ammunition at boats at Maine.
Right.
And then from there we went through the canal and over to the
Panama?
San Diego, Panama Canal. And we went to San Diego, stayed overnight, and 3 days later we were in Pearl Harbor. Took on supplies and went out training. And then we joined the fleet and started on operations in the Philippines and the Philippine Sea area, battling with the Jap fleet. And then we went up all the islands, all the way up.
Sorry. You're going a little too fast.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1943, the USS Clarence K. Bronson was launched and commissioned.
Brooklyn Navy.
Okay. Is that where you were in New York, the Brooklyn Navy Yard?
That's where I picked the ship up.
Okay.
And
That's where our sub came from, too.
is that right?
Yeah. It was there
You know,
for...
the Brooklyn Navy Yard isn't even there anymore.
Oh.
It isn't even there. My ship was commissioned there. We went down in the East River, and off we went.
Okay, so in November, around Thanksgiving, you reached Pearl Harbor for final
Yes,
training.
yes.
So take us through a day of final training. What was that like?
Well, training,
At the Great
Yeah,
Lakes.
we went out and we were shooting at
Oh,
targets.
Pearl Harbor.
Oh, Pearl Harbor, I'm sorry.
We were firing at targets and did a lot of training, and they discharged a couple of torpedoes to practice. They were fired at an island, isolated, well protected. And then from there we went over to, we stopped by Tarawa.
Right, right.
And then from there we went right over to the Philippines, and we were engaged in Leyte Gulf.
You
other-
had,
other
sorry,
acts in the Philippines.
you had one escort voyage to Tarawa, and then in January of 44, the Fast Carrier Task Force, the 5th Fleet's Task Force 58, supported landings on Kwajalein,
That's true.
okay? And then
And the Weetok.
you supported raids on Truk, Saipan, and Guam.
Yes, Saipan, Guam.
So tell us what that was like for you. What were these missions like for you? You personally, where were you on the ship?
I was in a fire room during the regular day, but during general quarters, I was assigned to the midships repair party at the mast, the top side, back by the mast, and we went from there.
All right, show us, can you show us in the picture of the ship where you were?
Yes. Yes,
I wish I had a pointer.
Right by the back of the bridge.
Oh, you were about
Right there to the
5
bridge.
inch,
See where the mast is?
this mast,
Yeah, well, I stood right at the base of the mast.
or right down in this area
Yeah.
by the 40s, in that area?
Yeah,
Bad area.
center of the ship.
Yeah, bad area.
Okay,
Yes.
very good, thank you.
And then we went over the islands that compromised, taking the Japs from Eniwetok, Mariana Island, Iwo Jima. We were at Iwo Jima when that Marine died there. He was the one who came back a hero. What's his name from Raritan?
He's from New Jersey.
John Basilone.
John
Yeah.
Basilone from,
He died when at that island there.
Okay, so in March, you were at Espiritu Santo. You covered landings in the Bismarck Archipelago,
Yes,
and you rejoined Task Force 58
58, yes.
strikes on Patau, Yap, and Wolai. And in April of 44 were the New Guinea landings.
That's right, yeah, by New Guinea.
All right. And then at the end of April, you returned to raid Truk. You had already raided Truk a couple months before that, and then you returned to raid it
Correct.
again. And then in May, you dry docked at Majuro, which is the Marshall Islands.
Yes.
And that's a coral atoll. So,
Ulithi. It's called Ulithi.
oh, Ulithi. So did you,
Atoll.
when you dry dock, do you stay aboard ship or do you get off? Do you go ashore?
No, we stayed aboard.
You stay aboard.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about the conditions on board ship, the supplies that you had, the food, and the living conditions.
The supply ship would be right at the atoll, and you'd get everything from cigarettes and a haircut and the dental work if you needed it.
Oh, okay.
And I could use that now.
but the general living
And then we
conditions.
would join the fleet again and go out and take on the Japs again.
But like, how did you sleep? Did you sleep on the deck or no?
No, I slept on the racks.
In the
racks
rack.
they hid in the bedroom.
Were
and
they
sleeping quarters.
stacked?
Yeah, the 3 racks up in there.
Okay.
No mattress.
Oh.
No mattress.
Yeah,
It
they
just
were
had a
canvas.
pit. I thought that's important to bring out. And,
Yeah.
and we were from Iwo Jima. We escorted a carrier and a battleship. We were 35 miles off of Japan.
Before Iwo Jima, was June. It was around the same time that they were invading
Yes.
Normandy.
About-
You were doing the Marianas operation after screening during
Yes.
pre-invasion airstrikes on Saipan,
Yes.
Rota, Tinian, and Guam. The
Yes.
Bronsons stood off Saipan as the assault on Saipan began.
All of those, yeah.
So it began, but you didn't stay for the whole assault because that was 3 weeks long.
Yeah, we went off with the fleet to try to catch some Japanese carriers further up north, and we got hit with a typhoon.
Wow.
And
yeah,
it was so rough that if I looked for the other destroyer when we were on top of a wave, I could only see this radar on the top of his mast. The rest of the ship was in the water, you know. And 3 of those destroyers rolled over and sank. Took all the men aboard.
Was that the Admiral Halsey?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the one who brought him up on charges in New York
Yeah,
for taking the fleet into that area.
yeah, he should.
Right.
He was looking for Japanese carriers.
Right.
He intercepted with
Haven't
what
heard that story in a while. All right. Yeah.
That mast, the top of the mast is about 40 feet from the deck. And I could just see the radar on top of that mast when they were down in the water, in the wave, in the well of the wave.
How long-
And we were on top of this wave, you know, about a couple of 100 yards away.
How long did it last?
That was 7 days, steady. We were eating just bologna, no only coffee. We had coffee.
Were you sick?
No, nobody got sick. You're too anxious.
Oh.
But yeah, that's how high the waves were.
Did you know anybody on the ships that were lost?
No, we were not with that group.
Oh, okay.
There were several groups around, several carriers and several
the task force.
battleships. To several groups.
So you guarded carriers as they launched their planes in the aerial battle of the Philippine Sea, June 19th and 20th.
I don't remember those dates, but that's.
But that's when that happened, right?
Okay.
George Bush, the ensign. Because that
Oh,
date,
it's on there.
the date is June
Yeah, okay.
19th, Monday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron, did you want to go over there and read that?
The 3
The
ships
deck log?
were the Spence, the Monaghan, and the Hull. I remember their names.
Georgia was this year on his TBM.
Oh, that's President.
Ensign
Bush.
Bush.
Yeah, that's when their
We
plane
picked
landed.
them up in the Philippine Sea, I think it
TBM.
was.
What are your memories of that day?
Huh?
Do you have memories from that day? You personally? Do you remember? Do you remember that day?
Oh, it was at night, no moonlight or anything, you know, and they had a big 36-inch searchlight, and they were in touch by radar or, you know, electrically. And we picked the crew up, and they were rushed right aboard, shipped up to this officer's country, and I never saw him again. But I got this medal from him here at this establishment.
Can you hold it up? Can you hold the medal up?
Your cane is in the way.
No, it's fine, it's fine.
He gave one of these to every one of the crew members.
The cane is. That's it.
He gave one to every one of the crew members who was still alive.
Is there anything on the back?
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yes. All right. Oh, you're so proud. I love it. Can you tell me about that day when you got that?
Well, met some of the crew, not many. Perhaps, I would say 15, maybe 15 members were here at the time, right here at Earl. And the officer in charge gave us the medals and a letter from George Bush. And that ended that.
It was from through Governor Whitman.
Oh, okay.
Well, this is a standard deck log of battles. The officer of the deck takes care of the action every minute, and he writes this in a log and tries to avoid memory, tries to put everything down according to real time. And
Do you want to read President Bush's letter right next to it? The letter from President Bush.
you want me to read it?
Sure, I can't see
okay.
it.
Letter from the White House, Washington, D.C., May 20th, 1992, in reference to the destroyer Clarence Bronson. George Bush writes, I am delighted to send greetings to all those who are gathered for the biannual reunion of the crew of the USS Clarence K. Bronson, DD-668. The veterans of the C.K. Bronson are a special group of Americans, and I regret that my official duties prevent me from joining you on this occasion. During wartime, the loyalty of service members to each other can mean the difference between life and death. So it was in my case, after making a forced landing in the Pacific. My TBM crewmen, Jack Delaney and Leo Nadeau, and I were never so glad as when we saw the Bronson pull up alongside to take us aboard. I am indebted to each of you. Like most difficult experiences, war teaches certain lessons, and having entered the Navy as a very young man, I learned my share. One of those difficult lessons is that we can depend on each other, even or perhaps especially when the stakes are high. The enemy triumphs when he convinces you that you are alone. Jack, Leo, and I were not alone when we had to ditch our plane on that day in June in 1944, and I thank you for being the kind of individuals on whom others can rely, especially during World War II and later during the war in Korea. America counted on your courage and devotion to duty, and you did not disappoint her. On behalf of a grateful nation, I salute you. Barbara joins us in wishing you a most enjoyable reunion. Signed, George Bush.
Thank you so much, Ron. And we
That's a big help.
yes.
I couldn't get over there.
And we should
I'm sorry.
we should say, George, that you are the last survivor, the last surviving crewman of the Clarence K. Bronson.
Is that a fact?
Yeah.
Is that a fact?
Yes. You didn't know that?
200, no?
Yeah.
We're not in touch. I don't know where to, correspond.
Can't find anybody.
Oh, okay.
My
Okay.
goodness.
Reached out, but
But you and your fellow George are still alive. So that's one good thing, right?
I'd like to meet him just to say I'm happy to see you again.
That would be wonderful.
It was a dark night. I'm not sure it was in the Philippine Sea or the South China Sea.
Right.
Because it was black night.
I think it was the Philippine Sea. The Battle of the Philippine Sea.
Okay.
Because that date was the same as the date of the log.
I found out he was the youngest fighter pilot in the Navy.
Interesting.
He was the
Yeah.
youngest fighter pilot in the Navy.
yeah, I'll back that up. Because
Okay, so the Bronson was one of the ships which displayed her searchlight
Yes.
aloft as a homing beacon for carrier pilots at the close of the battle, as the fleet audaciously revealed itself to save its aviators.
Yes.
So let's imagine that for us, we weren't there, but let's imagine the battle for the Philippine Sea. So it's at night because the light is the homing beacon
right.
for the pilots. And for the ships to put on their lights, then they're also making themselves targets for the enemy aircraft.
Yeah.
Aircraft and ships,
We were
right?
lucky there were no submarines around
Oh,
because it was a
submarines.
black night, and we had to put a big 36-inch searchlight to pick them out up, you know. They were talking on the radio, but we need that searchlight to pick them up. And he was from you to me when he came aboard, because we were at General Quarters when you stopped for that. So, but I never saw him after that, and we were that close. That was my battle station, right at the main mast.
Oh, right where he came aboard?
During the war, during
General Quarters. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then in early July, your ship replenished at Eniwetok?
Eniwetok.
Eniwetok, okay. Task Force 58 covered the invasion of Guam,
Guam, too.
launched airstrikes on enemy bases in the Palaus and Bonins.
Hallelujah, yeah.
Palos and Bonins.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything from that summer of 44?
No, it's all melted in.
Yeah, one after the other. I can
action,
imagine.
you know, yeah. It was this continuous action, you know.
Yes, absolutely. September of 44, the Bronson's force covered the capture of the Palaus. And then in October, your force neutralized Formosan bases.
Yes.
What was the other name of Formosa? Taiwan?
Promotion?
Taiwan, right? Yeah. The name changed. It was Formosa and then it was
The Straits of
Taiwan, right?
Cacao, the Straits of Macao, in the
Formosa
Battle of
is-
Leyte Gulf.
I don't
It's not
remember.
important. Yeah, Taiwan. Taipei, Taiwan. I had veterans
Oh, yeah.
there during the Cold War.
Saipan, Tinian, and Taiwan.
You hurled raids against the Philippines and Visayas, and you played your part in the epic battle for Leyte Gulf. Now we're up to
Leyte
the
Gulf.
end of October,
Yes.
44. Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle of World War II, and possibly the largest naval battle in history, is what they say. Some people think maybe there was one in World War I that was as big, a British one, but I think yours was the largest naval battle. So describe that night, day, describe it for us. The weather, was it evening, was it morning, what was it? The
Oh.
Battle for Leyte Gulf, October 25th.
Oh. That was in the daytime.
Okay.
And it was so quick, though. They picked them up on a radar, and before you know it, within 6-7 minutes, it seems, they were over us already. And one of them took out the carrier, went right past us. Well, their target was the carrier, which he served on. And they just ignored us. You're only a little destroyer. So that's what I saw. Yeah.
Okay. And then November, December, airstrikes covered the Mindoro landings.
Majuro.
Mindoro, was that?
Yeah, you're bringing it all back to me.
Oh,
You bring it all back to me. Majuro.
I appreciate that.
What was some of the other Mindanao? Oh,
Yeah,
we passed that.
I want you to, as I bring it back to you, I want you to share whatever memories are triggered, anything that comes to mind.
No. It was the usual strike of those idiots, and it was over. You know, there was no ship-to-ship. There was no ship-to-ship firing there. It was just those kamikazes coming in and doing what they had to do.
When did you see-
That's what our engagement was.
When did you see your first kamikaze?
Those were the single pilot that
Right.
was on a
But
suicide.
when did you first see one?
After they picked it up on the radio, about about 15 seconds, and then they were gone. They were coming in, whatever they used to talk about, 280 miles an hour. By the time you looked at them, they were over here already, you know what I'm saying? And they were probably maybe a quarter of a mile away and heading right for the carrier. They just went right for the carrier. They didn't care about us or other ships. I
And
saw
then-
them hit it.
You did?
What a mess.
Was there any way to rescue anybody?
Well, no, we were in a, we didn't go closer to them. We stayed in our unit, 6 destroyers all around the fleet. That fleet is usually a group, a carrier and destroyers, a couple of cruisers, smaller ships, you know. It was over so quick you wouldn't believe it. And they had made their target. And we weren't called in to help with anything, firing, putting fires out. They had that all on their own ship.
Right.
But we just cruised along with them and went back to Atoll.
So do you have any memories of what it was like to have the holidays aboard ship?
A holiday?
Thanksgiving, Christmas?
It was usual fare, nothing special.
Did you get mail?
But,
Did any packages reach you? Any mail when you were aboard ship?
oh yeah, we used to get mail. But that would be when you come back to the atoll and you get the ships, the 5 ships were in the atoll, loaded with everything. Like I said, haircuts and candy stores, Guido, restaurant, and clothing. You could buy clothing there. They had everything like a store. And you go back to your ship, and then within a week, we're out at sea again, and getting together to make another strike on another island.
Right.
It was island after island all the way up the whole
Right.
coast.
So then from then until January of 45, there were raids on Japanese bases on Formosa, Luzon, the Nansei Shoto,
It's the same situation.
and Chinese ports made possible the Lingayen assault. By hitting all those places, then you were able to assault the Lingayen Gulf.
Yeah. They get it ready for landing, Marines landing on it, you know.
Marines always,
The
yeah,
Marines went into
went in
everything.
first.
Oh, no, Marines was something. We used to take a Marines group and at night, and they'd be fighting on one part of an island. We'd take some Marines right off the big ships, and we'd land them on an island behind the Japs, you know, and then they could close in on them. So that was our general duty.
Oh,
That was
okay.
the general duty.
So would you get to talk to them?
Hardly.
No.
You're in general quarters and you
You're
kind
busy.
of kept your mouth shut because you're so close to the beach when you're putting them ashore.
Oh, true, yeah.
If you talked, they could hear you, you know.
That's right.
So we landed Marines there and they went in there.
And then in February 18th of 45, the strikes on Tokyo prepared for the assault on Iwo Jima.
Yep.
The Bronson left the main body of her task force to escort cruisers to Iwo Jima for pre-invasion bombardment and fire support to the forces ashore after the February 19th assault for 4 days. Do you have memories of those 4 days, Iwo Jima?
Well, we were off the beach quite a bit and the battleships were bombarding it with their big shell. After 4 days, we stood by, you know, in case enemy ships was come around or enemy aircraft. But we had none of that. We just fired at the beach and supported that invasion. We were just a little part of it, just a little part of it.
That's what a true hero sounds like. We were just a little part of it.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
a big part.
You see them American battleships out here throwing shells in 25 miles away. They were 25 miles away and they were throwing shells in there. Fantastic. Spooky.
Then more Tokyo Nansai Shoto strikes, returned to fire support and anti-submarine patrol duties off Iwo Jima, March 3rd through 29th of 45.
Okay.
Then sailed for West Coast overhaul.
That was the big duty for the destroyer, watch for submarines.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Well, of course, I was only a fireman in the boiler room, you know, on my regular duty. And we were 4 hours on, 8 hours off, 4 on, 8 hours. Well, the fellows that took care of that were up in a different part of the ship, and we had nothing to do with that. You know, they were all the intelligent guys knowing how to track, operate their instruments. But
Is that when they would do depth charges? Drop depth charges?
oh yeah, they'll do that if you pick up with submarines.
And you're a tin can sailor, as your hat says. So could you hear that since the walls of the ship were only as thick as a can of soda, right? Like
Yeah.
a tin can.
They always had the sonar working for submarine patrol, but they also had the aircraft, what do they call that, radar, to look for enemy airplane. But sonar, we look for submarines.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
And talk about West Coast overhaul.
West Coast overall, yeah.
What was that?
That was around March of 40.
No, I mean, like, what was it? Was that West Coast of the U.S.?
Oh, there was one time we had overhaul. They took us to a, what do you call it? You'd send the ship into this ship, they'd close it up, and then they drained it from water. What do you call them again?
Dry dock?
Dry dock.
Right.
You'd be in a dry dock for a while, scraping and painting the bottom.
Yeah. That was at Majuro. That was in the Marshall Islands. You said you lived
okay,
there?
that's right.
Yeah.
That was at Majuro, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Majuro. Exactly. That was in May of 44. That was the year before. But now it's March of 45. March, April.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so you're sailing for West Coast overhaul. Is that California?
Yes. That was Mare Island. That's about 30 miles up from San Francisco.
Oh.
It's a destroyer base.
Can you spell that?
M-A-R-E.
Major. Oh no, Majuro. What did I say it was?
Mare Island?
Mare Island.
Mare?
Mare. That was in February or March
That's
of
considered
45.
California?
February or March
Off
of
the
45.
March 45. Okay.
Yeah. And overhaul and such and on that.
So what would you do
That's
while
when I
that?
got discharged. I was
What?
transferred to California.
Your paper said you got discharged in October of 45. This
No, I
is
got
only March.
discharged in
You didn't go back on the ship
August.
to Pearl Harbor?
Wait. I got discharged in New York in September of.
Didn't you bombard Wake Island? Didn't you?
Well, see, in that interval, like I'll say roughly February or March, I was picked up in San Francisco to work in a classification where sailors that come in from overseas, you classify them for their future duty. You know? That was about 6-7 months and then the war was over.
So
I
you
was-
never went back to the Pacific?
No.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah.
So tell me now,
That was before they went to Okinawa. That was the next operation.
yeah, they went to Wake Island, Honshu, Central Japan. They took part in the occupation by patrolling Japanese waters
Yeah.
until December 5th.
I was home in
Okay.
San Francisco. That was my base. I
San
got discharged from
Francisco.
the Bronson, and I worked in a classification of sailors. Like when I first went ashore, we went through classification. Well, they picked me up to work there.
You worked in classification of
Classification,
sailors?
And to the end of the war.
Were you surprised when you got taken off the ship?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was on that ship for 21 months. Or 2 years, 3 months.
Where in San Francisco? What was the name of the...
San Francisco.
Oh, it wasn't any special
No.
base or anything?
See, that's 30 miles away from Maryland. Maryland is where the ship stayed.
Right, right.
And then they went out to sea again.
And what were you told why you got switched out? Was it combat points or
No.
anything like that?
I just had duty in the office there in San Francisco for 5, 6, 7 months. And the war ended.
It was administrative duty, like
Kinda like that.
clerical?
Yeah, I
Clerical
used to
duty?
interview sailors, you know.
You did what I do. You did interviews. Interview sailors. I'm doing that right now.
I wish I could handle it better. I can't remember too well. I can't remember a lot of things too well, you know.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Good. Thank you.
Did your family come out to see you in California?
No, because I said I'm going to get a leave. I got a 30-day leave, so I went home. Then I had to go back and finish out the tour of duty. And the war ended in September or August, September, something like that.
Yeah. Did you know anything about the atomic bomb? Had you ever heard of that?
I heard about talking about atomic weapons
Did you celebrate in San Francisco?
a little bit. Yeah.
And when
But
did you...
I couldn't wait to get home.
Oh, I bet. Tell us about your homecoming.
Well, this is not so fun. I got home and I went home on a 30-day leave, and my wife was telling me that she wants a divorce. This is the same old crap, you know. She wanted a divorce, so I had a 30-day leave. When it was over, I went back to San Francisco, and the war ended, and I came back to New York, and we got divorced. The war was
Oh.
over.
Did you have children?
She had another man, you know.
Did you have any kids?
No,
Oh, that's good.
no. We're very lucky that way.
Yes.
I got 2 girls now.
That's great.
Yeah.
What about your family? Your
Oh,
family?
my mother and father were
Right.
still alive. Yeah,
Of course.
I'd see them. My sister, her husband was a deep sea diver. He was from the old Navy. He used to dive off the Jersey Shore when the submarines. We lost a lot of submarines off the Jersey Shore.
Joe wrote a book about that.
The Squalers and another couple of them. He was a diver on that Squalers.
my
SQUALUS.
That's awesome. Wow.
He was a diver on that hard hat. You know, the old-fashioned divers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they had the air hose all the way up topside, pumping air to them.
What did you do with your benefits? Did you use your GI Bill?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I went to school,
What'd you go to school for?
machine work. Yeah,
Good for you.
and I finished that. I worked in the machine line for 28 years, and then I retired. I've been working with that. My wife passed away about 35 years ago.
Wow.
Nice, wonderful Polish girl.
Oh.
Wonderful. Oh, boy.
How long were you married?
I guess about 20, only about 25 years. Something
Oh,
like that.
okay.
But I had 2 girls to pump me up, keep me going.
Your 2 girls. All right, so I want to show some pictures now.
Didn't I put the medal in that bag too? The medal you got for me?
The Victory Medal?
It's okay. And when did you next see people from your ship?
When did I?
Oh,
You got me that.
you got him the World War II medal?
Yeah, he's entitled to
I
that.
see,
He
I have a
never
quarter.
had it.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
It's so nice you got him
That's
that.
that's an original
Yes.
from World War II.
We, our ship,
It's a quarter.
up to the point that I was on it, was in 11 engagements. We got 11 stars for each engagement, 1 star for each engagement
Right,
of activity,
Right.
action. And I got the,
nice.
I couldn't find the bars. I had 3 bars. One of them had 11 stars on it.
Yeah,
oh, the Bronze Stars.
I
right.
couldn't
you
find
missed
it.
a lot of medals. I couldn't believe it.
That's okay, I have the forms for you for getting that. Okay, I'll put on my glasses.
Yeah.
Charles Werner says the photo is of the electricians group that he was the head of near the end of the war. The dog was a white Spitz that came on board in Honolulu. She had at least 4 puppies while at sea that were adopted by other ships of the fleet. Oh, I see it now. The dog was totally deaf, probably from being near one of the 5-inch guns when it was fired. One of the officers took the dog home after the war. Does anyone remember the dog's name?
I'm sorry I couldn't remember. Let me see that.
All right, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. He did a wonderful job on them.
Man on the right. Oh, okay. And then there's...
What a job he did to all this. He did all this.
He's very good at this. You're lucky. I should show this one too.
I couldn't find an old picture of the gang in the fire room. There's a little picture with, I couldn't find it, with the crew members that I operated with in the foil
Oh, I
room.
wish you would have found
I couldn't find it.
Because we could have blew that up,
You're still
cleaned it
time.
up a little bit.
How do you like this? Oh my goodness. John Cooney. Yep. I can't remember their names, but I know their faces.
That's great.
Oh my goodness.
You make him feel young again when he looks at that
Yeah.
picture.
See, these fellas, a couple of them were electrician mates, and they lived in a different part of the ship, and we lived in another part of the ship, and you didn't see them very much, you know. And we were 21 months at sea without liberty. We never saw a human being,
Oh.
never saw a civilian.
Oh.
21 months. Yeah. Oh, I remember these guys, though. I remember this one. That one's an electrician mate. Oh, boy, you did some job on this, mother.
What was his name?
I'm telling you. The waves were so bad that one fellow was slammed against the upper decks, a gun mount. He was slammed against the gun mount, and he died.
Oh, no.
Died right there. He died right there.
So what did you do?
Just buried him at sea.
Oh.
He died.
So
He was
sorry.
aboard only about 5 or 6 months.
So
He was a
sad.
seaman. He's dumping garbage over the side at night, and this freak wave came and picked him up onto the next deck, killed him right up against the gun mount.
Never found it.
Yeah, but that's not pleasant to put in there.
Well, it's the truth. It's the risk that happens. When you sign your name on the dotted line, it's almost like you agree that can happen to you, right?
You wouldn't believe the waves, though. I tell you,
There's 2 of this one.
I can't use the words to describe it. Boy, it was awful.
Let's talk about the next time after you got discharged that you ever saw anybody again from your time in service?
No, no, we lost track of each other.
No reunions?
We had a reunion once, that's right here at Earl.
Oh, just once?
At Earl, we had a reunion. Oh,
Girls in
15 years ago, I guess. There was only about 12 guys there. And most of them, I didn't know them real good. Because you see, when you're in a destroyer, the gunners, they slept forward in the part of the ship. And the firemen and that, we slept back aft. And the other officers, there's officers' country for all the captain and the crew up there. Those in charge. So you didn't get to see them a lot. They hung around in the forecastle area, and we hung around by the boiler rooms, on the after end of the ship. And most of the time you slept.
Well, you said 4 hours on, 8 hours off. So when you weren't working, you were sleeping.
Most of the time you'd be sleeping.
And we didn't talk about what it was like for chow. Did you have to stand in line?
Chow was decent.
But how long was the line? Were there like 1,000 people in line?
Oh, no.
Oh.
There's about
Oh, your ship was small.
200 and maybe 220 men there, a complement of the ship. It was a small ship.
Right, I'm sorry you said that.
They had a certain time for each group to eat, and there was no hustle.
Oh, okay.
Everything was ready.
It's all scheduled.
Yeah. No, there was no big
I
crowd.
think we're good. There he is, Leo Frazier. I found Leo Frazier's name. I'm sorry. We were just talking about him. The museum guy, I said, and you recognized his name.
Mm-hmm.
Dear Governor Whitman. Oh my gosh. This is awesome. Maybe I'll copy this.
He did some job on that, don't you think so?
Yes, I am
Look
very
at
grateful
that.
too.
He threw for a bottle of champagne there, man. Lady.
I'm gonna copy this.
This one amazes me.
You want me to put that in? Okay.
You know,
This one here amazes me. Are we on?
Yes. Go ahead.
Ron was no piker. He was, the big wheel of Sears ship. He was in charge of that. He worked the steering.
And that's called
On
an
a
old
big
piker?
carrier.
Oh, nice.
Sir.
Okay, Ron, do you want to have your turn in the, just to say how you know him?
Say what?
Usually the driver gets in it too.
The helmsman.
The helmsman.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to just stand there for a second. Come back here.
I can take that.
No, leave it on. It's okay.
That might have a little bit.
Okay, if you want to grab your hat, go ahead.
Yeah, get your hat.
I think it's
Want a drink before I take?
Go ahead, yeah.
You want some before I drink?
No, I have something, thank you.
I have a camouflage hat, so you don't know I have it on.
So I don't know you're a sailor.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were looking at some of the antiques. This is George. They're almost as old as some.
Oh, they're not antiques to him.
Yeah.
All right, now
I kid
you
him all
wanted,
the time now.
you wanted me to film this.
No. I couldn't handle this.
What I was telling you about this year, Carol. What I was talking
sorry.
about this
This.
one here. I'm amazed at this one here because I look at the date, November '46, and I look at James. I remember James Forrestal,
Yes.
and he writes to the ship some of the members on the ship, and he's lucky to get one. Of the 550,000 other servicemen during that time, they never got a letter. I asked a few of my friends, I said, did you ever get a letter from James Forrestal? George gets a letter.
Okay, do you want me to read this?
I'm
or-
amazed at it. I can't figure that one out.
Do you want George to read it, or can George read this without glasses, or?
I don't even know. Did you see this, George? The letter from James Forrestal to you as a member of the...
Oh, he has glasses, okay.
Why would that ship, some of the members received that letter, unless it was... No, it couldn't have been, because that would have predated George Bush.
That's taking too much of your time.
Nope.
Oh, yeah, James Forrestal.
You remember that one?
George, can you read that for us?
I'm sorry?
Can you read it out loud?
Oh. I have addressed this letter to reach you after all the formalities of your separation from active service are completed. I have done so because without formality, but as clearly as I know how to say it, I want the Navy's pride in you, which it is my privilege to express, to reach into your civil life and to remain with you always. You have served in the greatest Navy in the world. Amen. It crushed too many enemy fleets at once, receiving their surrender only 4 months apart. It brought our land-based air power within bombing range of the enemy and set our ground armies on the beachheads of final victory. It performed a multitude of tasks necessary to support these military operations. No other Navy at any time had done so much. For your part in these achievements, you deserve to be proud as long as you live. The nation which you served at a time of crisis will remember you with gratitude. The best wishes of the Navy go with you into civilian life. Good luck. Sincerely, James Forrestal. Yeah. I'll be done.
Oh.
I didn't see this.
That one.
Oh,
I don't remember it.
Very
Was it with
nice.
the papers?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Nice.
the original copy.
very nice.
I just don't
It's an
figure
original,
why
yeah.
on your release from the service, you got that,
I think yeah.
and
I think I would have behaved a little better if I was better prepared.
Congratulations.
On your 100th birthday, you got one from Richard Spencer.
Nice. Is that this one right here? Let me just read this. So the Navy said happy birthday to you this year.
Yes.
Yeah. How does it feel to be 100 years old?
Not bad.
Not bad.
You naturally got the aches and pains, you know. And I never drank a lot, and I can't drink even wine, which I like, with dinner, because I take too much medication, and it goes right to my head. Twice already, my brother-in-law was next to me at one time, I had a little glass of wine, and about 25 minutes, a half hour later, I was just like a limp rag, right on the floor. No control in anything, nothing. I couldn't speak, I couldn't even do anything. I just fell on the floor.
Yeah.
I can't drink because I'm taking that medication.
Right.
So my saying to you and anybody else who will listen, exercise. Exercise.
What do you do?
Exercise.
What do you do for exercise?
In bed in the morning, I work my feet this way, then I work my feet that way, and then I lift my leg over this way and that way. Each time it's 30 times.
Ooh.
I'm up to 40 times.
Oh my gosh.
And then I stretch and I throw one leg over, one leg over, one leg over, and then do that 30 times. Everything is 30. I'm doing it 40 and 50 now. And I walk in the morning. I walk about a third of a mile, to get a newspaper and a cup of coffee, cup of Joe. You know what that is.
Yes.
So, and then I walk back. I do that every day, except Sunday. I do go on Sundays, but a friend helps out with a car. He drives over sometimes. He takes me over. That's over to the bagelsmith. But I walk that a lot. Everybody talks about George with his walking every day. And I try to tell him to do it. You too.
I love to walk. It's my
Good.
favorite thing.
That's one of the best things you can do, boy.
I walk right out here to the beach and back.
Yeah. And that's the best thing for your heart, better than any medication, better than any doctor. The doctor, a good doctor will tell you, exercise and walk. It'll help you. It'll help you lose weight, it'll help you gain weight.
When did you ever join any veteran groups?
Oh, I belong to the VFW ever since I'm out of the Navy, 75 years? Oh yeah, in Islip, New Jersey. It's very near Woodbridge, next to Woodbridge.
So do you hold the record for being a member for 75 years?
Did I what about it?
Do you hold the record? Do they say no
Oh, I
one's
don't
been
know.
there that long?
They're down to where they sold the building. They're down to just enough people to complement to have officers to make a record of the meeting. Everybody else has passed away. I was a chaplain for 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you were in the Navy, were you one of the older guys?
Was that what?
You were already 24 when you went in. Were most of them younger than you? Were you the old guy?
I was
And then-
21 when I joined.
Oh, it said 24. I'm sorry.
Oh wait, maybe it was 24 because
You were already married?
yeah, because I 28 when I get out. You're right. 24.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. I was married there that period of like 2 years. Yeah,
So how old were your shipmates? Were they teenagers?
yeah.
Mostly
A
teenagers?
lot of them were 19, 20, 19.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them were.
Okay. Is
But
it
most of the time you slept. You know, you had your 8 hours off. I'd walk around a little while, talk to a few boiler men, and that was an interesting job. The fireroom. They call them a black bang, you know, because years ago it was shoveling coal, and you come out of there, you were black. But now you got oil burners. We had, by the way, just for your information, we had one little steam line. It was the regular boiler was boiling temperature. This was overhead going from the boiler, 625 degrees temperature. I forget what they use that for. I think one thing was firing a torpedo. But if you got hit with that, it would melt your skin off your bones. So hot.
George, I just want to say that I'm honored and humbled that you came today to speak to me of
I-
your sacrifice and
Thank you.
contribution that you made in service to your country.
Thank
Thank you and God bless you. And welcome home.
I only want to say sincerely that I would do it again. Same things, same conditions, if it would straighten out this world, especially America. Yeah. Everybody was at peace with each other to a degree, you know. Those up above were happy to make all their money, but it's gotten now out of hand. I'm so sorry it's got the way it did. I'd gladly go back in.
Thank you so
I
much.
put up with the same. Yeah.
Outstanding job.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.